Hello there, and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash, and I'm your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now this morning, as I was sat having my breakfast at home, I was reading the Sunday Times, and an article jumped out to me about suit sales in the UK. Now that was a very impactful article, and it made me think about the way that men consider ourselves to be intentionally well dressed. You know, it talked about the suit and its falling status in men's style. And it really did make me think about the way I dress, about the clothes that I own, and the direction in which men's style is invariably taking and going to head towards in the years ahead. So, that's what I'm going to talk about today. Now, the article that made me cough into my kipper over breakfast this morning related to suit sales, but specifically to Marks & Spencer. Now, to understand the importance of that, Marks & Spencer's are probably the most popular and universally used department store in the UK when it comes to entry-level or ordinary day-to-day clothing, particularly men's formal wear. So when we talk about men's suits, I would imagine that unless you've had a very privileged life, the first suit you buy, if you're in the UK in the last 50 years, probably would have been from Marks & Spencer. They are a company which was founded probably over 100 years ago in Leeds, and I know at their peak they had hundreds of department stores on the high street of every major town and city in the UK. And if I remember rightly, in 1998 they were the first British retailer to make a pre-tax profit of over 1 billion British pounds. It's fair to say they've gone over the hump of their popularity, and they're on the way down. They've closed well over, I think, 100 stores around the UK in recent years, probably as a result of the online shopping phenomenon, which has, overtaken many of those bricks and mortar locations, just like Marks & Spencer's. But they are, as I say, a place where most people will have bought their suits. They made their first suits as a department store in 1939, and yeah, I think I bought my first suit from Marks & Spencer, as so many other people will have over the years. Now, the point of the article which drew my attention was the fact that Marks & Spencer's have changed the way that they sell formal clothing, because of the decline in the way that people dress, the casualization of attire which people are seeing in daily life. And as a result of that, Marks & Spencer, the eponymous place that you would always go to buy a suit, they only now sell suits in 110 of their total number of 254 department stores around the UK. And this is in a direct, as a direct consequence of the falling sales of suits. And it did make me think, what place does a suit have in a man's wardrobe in the modern era, and what direction is that taking? Now, Marks & Spencer's, thankfully, because they've been around a long time, they're able to shed some light on the decline of the suit purchases that have been taking place in their stores. If we look back 10 years ago to about 2010, at its peak, Marks & Spencer's sold 5 million suits per year. If we look back 5 years ago to about 2015, they sold 4.3 million suits. So a reduction, but only a small reduction. In 2020, they only sold 2 million suits in that whole year. Now, I know there are many reasons, and we can hypothesize why those numbers have gone down, but it just goes to show, what place does the suit hold in the current man's wardrobe, and where is it heading? Now, Marks & Spencer's, or MS as we're prone to call it, are also able to give us an indication through tracking their sales of the changes of trends when it comes to the way people dress. We know that sales of formal wear in their stores have gone down 72%, whilst there's been an increase of casual wear by 61% over the same period of time. And it just goes to show really the way that people are dressing. Not only that, but they're able to tell us that the sales of very comfortable and elasticated clothing has definitely been on the rise over the last few years. So formal wear, definitely on the way down, and looks to be going in that direction. Now, not just Marks and Spencer's though. When we look at some of the other retailers which used to have a strong presence on the high street, one particular company I think of, TM Lewin. They were a suit sort of supply chain. They also sold lots of formal shirts and things like that. They closed all of their 66 high street stores in 2020, showing that decline is manifesting itself in dwindling sales. And another brand, Moss Brothers, very popular in the UK. They also rent formal attire. So if you want to go to a friend's wedding and you want to wear morning dress to the wedding, or if you're going to Ascot and you need to hire out the right clothing for that event, Moss Bros, or Moss Brothers as we call it, have always been the place to go. Last year they had a pre-tax loss of £7.5 million throughout the UK, and I think that is something of an ominous cloud which may signal they are either reduction or removal from bricks and mortar locations in the not too distant future. So the writing is on the wall, or is it? So what are the causes of the reduction of sales of formal wear and the reason why we are living in an ever more casual world? Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work it out. Immediately we look at the global pandemic, and that's changed the way that people have dressed and worked, because increasingly people are working from home or working in a blended environment where they spend less time in the office or the workplace and more time working from home, and as a consequence they don't need formal wear, and that home working casuality is transferring itself to the workplace. If you look within the workplace over the last decade, if not longer, definitely casual attire is getting a grip and taking hold. Now only the most formal professions you will see people wearing a collar and tie and a suit to work. Professions like the law, banking, medical professions, really professional jobs. Whereas years ago, anybody working in an office would have worn a suit and tie. Now, a shirt and chinos are considered by many people to be quite smart wear. So that more formal button-down look of the suit is definitely on the wane. And I think if many people wore a suit into the workplace today, they would quickly attract questions from their co-workers. Why are you dressed up? What's happening? What's special going on? So I can understand why, perhaps the sales of suits are married to that reduction of workplace formality. And I think the infection of Dress Down Friday has had a part to play in that increasing casuality. Because, Dress Down Friday, or Aloha Friday as it was originally called, started in the second half of the 20th century in Hawaii, of all places, where people working in Hawaii would be permitted to wear their Aloha shirts on a Friday. It was called Aloha Friday. And as time went on, this got carried over to mainland USA and carried around the world as business is prone to cross over borders. And people quite like the idea of dressing down on a Friday, and that just got carried over to more and more days of the week. And the proof is in the pudding, because in Hawaii today, Aloha dress, as it's called, is now absolutely acceptable business wear for any day of the week, not just a special day on a Friday where you want to be a bit more casual. So we've seen that infection spreading throughout workplaces all over the world. And I have to say, my own observations very much reflect that. So I've worked in professions for 20 plus years, and when I first started working, it would have been the norm for people in certain branches of my line of work to wear a suit, a collar and a tie. In fact, we were given a bit of extra money in our pay packets to ensure that we were able to dress appropriately for the job that we carried out, more formal wear. And over the years, those payments have ceased, and people are inclined to dress less and less formally. In fact, I think these days, if you wear a tie to work, people will look at you and wonder what's going on. And as a result of that, my own observations as a frugal yet intentionally well-dressed chap, I buy quite a few items from eBay, second-hand, pre-owned. You get some fabulous deals. And right now at the moment, I have never seen prices so low for quality items. I bought a blazer the other day, a fabulous English-made blazer. I paid only £20 for it. And when it comes to formal dress shoes, Now is the time if you've ever wanted to own some fabulous leather dress shoes, because the prices out there are ridiculous, because nobody is wearing these things in their daily lives, and as a result nobody is buying them or bidding for them on auction sites. So you can get some amazing deals. So it's a good thing if you are an intentionally well-dressed chap, because now's a good time to get some fabulous deals. And that carries across into other accessories as well. You know, I often make videos on this channel about watches, particularly Rolex watches. Now, if you go back 10 years ago, the watch I'm wearing today, the Rolex Datejust, that would have been considered the absolute norm. It's what everybody would have chosen perhaps as their first Rolex watch. Today, though, things have changed entirely, because the Datejust is a bit of a dress watch. It's considered to be a bit more smart and perhaps, a little bit more formal. Today, the Rolex watches which you can't get your hands on are the watches which Rolex refer to as their professional range, the watches which are useful, tool wrist watches, things like divers watches, GMT watches which allow you to keep track of 2 different time zones, watches like that, which, a generation ago, they were the ones which were stuck in the window of the jewellery store because nobody really wanted those. They were larger, more bulky, considered to be less dressy. Today, it's all flipped on its head. The dress watches are in the window, and the sort of professional working watches are the ones that you can't find for love nor money. So what does the future hold for us intentionally well-dressed men, or people who like to wear a suit? Is it that suits are going to fall into abeyance, and nobody is going to wear a suit, or the very few will wear a suit, and in fact if you do wear a matching suit, it will draw negative comments from people, or people will immediately perceive you to be flamboyant, eccentric, or something of an oddity? Well, I gotta say, I really hope not, because in preparation for this video, I went and looked at my closet earlier today, and I found that I have 11 suits of different styles, a couple of 3-piece suits, mostly 2-piece suits, some single-breasted, some double-breasted, a good cross-section of men's suits, which will cover me for the rest of my life, hopefully. And I think to myself, well, if they have gone out of fashion, I'm in trouble, because, that's a style which I've very much married myself to over the last few years. But the good news is, I do not think that the suit is going anywhere anytime soon, because the suit is always going to have some inalienable qualities which will make it attractive to men who like to look good and like to present a fabulous first impression to those that they meet. Now, one of the reasons why I think a suit will always have a place as a staple in every well-dressed man's wardrobe is the simple fact that the suit flatters the physique of whoever wears it. Now, whether you're a very big man and you want to look a bit smaller, or whether you're a skinny guy and you want a more muscular silhouette, the suit in the hands of a well-versed tailor can make sure that you can achieve the look that you desire, just by a nip and a tuck here and there. And the other thing is, the suit is always going to be the ultimate expression of dressing well. And you're always going to need it for those weddings, those funerals, those job interviews, or when you just want to look like the best dressed man in a room, when you need that boost of confidence, when you just really want to look sharp. Your suit will always be the default setting when you are in that situation. Now, one thing which does appear obvious is that there are going to be less and less men wearing suits in the world, either professionally or casually. So if you are in the habit of wearing a suit, you're going to stand out from the crowd. And it's important that we accept that, we acknowledge that, and we're ready for that. I certainly am. I'm not going to be trading in my suits for any athleisure wear or elasticated comfort clothing anytime soon. I think the suit will always be in my wardrobe and will always be there for the day that I want to look my very best. But there are going to be some changes. Suits, you're not going to be able to find them so readily. And when you do find them, they're likely to be more expensive, because the scale of economy says if less and less men are buying suits, they're going to get more expensive because they're going to become a niche item. So we need to think about that. At the moment, it might be a great time to stock up on suits, because in a year or two's time, when the full effect of the pandemic and the way that people work and dress to go to work is felt, I think less and less people will be wearing suits into the future than even we're seeing now. So there we go, chaps. Just an observational piece today about the way style is changing. You know, we are heading away from those golden era years of the 1940s, 50s and 60s, where men judged themselves to be well dressed by the cut of their suit. It's very different at the moment, and it's going to be very different in the future. But for those of us who are bold enough to wear a suit, we will continue to cut a dash. And I will swear you in as my deputies in this mission to continue to keep the standards high for those of us who want to look our best. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you've got any thoughts and observations, I would love to hear them. Drop them in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, give us a thumbs up and click that subscribe button. That way you won't miss any of our future material. Now until the next time, take care of yourselves and put that suit on if you want to make a difference. And I'll see you again very soon.